What's going on with the upcoming NFL 2K arcade game that we've been waiting 3 years for? I've been getting a lot of comments more and more each day with people asking me what's going on with this upcoming 2K game. We've been waiting for a while. It's been delayed a bunch of times. Is it even still coming out, and what can we expect? So I'm going to break down everything that we know so far, but also talk about some of the rumors I've been hearing lately as it pertains to this game. And if you're new to the channel and never want to miss out on any of the upcoming news about this game or other football games, make sure to subscribe and turn the bell icon on so you don't miss these important videos when they drop. We're so close to 500k subscribers. If everybody watching just subscribed, we could hit that today, and I greatly appreciate it as it does help the channel out a bunch. Now, back in 2020, it was revealed that 2K was officially back in business with the NFL, but only to make arcade games, as EA Sports does still have the simulation exclusive license for the NFL. But along the way, we started hearing more and more reports coming out of 2K that they were going to try to make the game as simulation as possible, which probably still wouldn't be too close to simulation because they just simply aren't allowed to do that. But if they could try to toe the line as best as possible, that would interest more football fans, because let's face it, more football fans are going to be more interested in a simulation game versus an arcade game. Arcade is usually more aimed at kids, but if you can toe that line and make the game deep and immersive, you could still have a lot of people enjoying it, similar to how Super Mega Baseball is. It's an arcade baseball game, but a lot of people actually enjoy it because it has really good gameplay for an arcade game. It also has a good franchise mode. It has good depth and immersion, so people still enjoy it as an alternative to MLB The Show. Now, this game was said to be coming out in 2022, and then it got pushed back, and what they said was there's a lot going into the game and they want it to be done the right way, and if that means developing it over a longer period of time, then that's what they were willing to do. And they said despite being arcade, it's still going to be a true football game that comes with the depth that you would expect from 2K games. And no matter how you feel about modern 2K games like NBA 2K with its microtransactions and some of the areas that the game is lacking, one thing you can't deny is that it's still probably the deepest sports game out there. The franchise mode is incredibly deep. The career mode is incredibly deep. The gameplay is pretty solid for the most part, depending on who you ask, and it has a lot of different ways to play and engage with the game. The presentation is also second to none. Now, just a week ago, we saw that there was a new game coming out called Wild Card Football that is produced by Saber Interactive, and a lot of people for some reason seem to think that this is the new 2K game, but it's not. And yes, Saber Interactive has sold a game to 2K before in NBA Playgrounds, which then was published by 2K, but they don't have any actual affiliation. They're not under the same umbrella or anything like that. 2K just simply took over the NBA Playground series. That's all it was. This game, Wild Card Football, isn't an actual NFL game. It does have the NFLPA license, meaning you're going to see all of the current and even some former NFL players in the game as it shows in the trailer, but you're not going to see NFL teams and stadiums and logos and stuff like that because it only has the rights to the players, not to the NFL itself. The games that 2K are going to be releasing are going to have rights to both. They're going to have the real players, but they're also going to have the teams, the logos, the stadiums, and all of that stuff that goes along with the NFL. And it's also been said that 2K wants to put out multiple games with this partnership with the NFL. It's a multi-year NFL partnership, and it said that they were going to be putting out multiple games, some likely being mobile games, which we'll talk about a little more in a minute. But in terms of the first big release, we're still waiting, and people are still wondering what's coming, when is it coming, or is it even coming at all at this point? We do also know that 2K is working on a Lego football game as well as a part of their Lego series. However, I don't believe this has much to do with the new official partnership that they worked out with the NFL. I think this is something that's kind of separate from that. Maybe it's lumped into that somewhere, but this is not one of the main feature things that they're going to be bringing to the market, and some people were kind of worried about that. While Lego sports games have their place out there, this isn't one of the big things that they got into partnership with the NFL to put out. Today's video is sponsored by Raycon and the Everyday Earbuds. I've got my black pair in right now. I've been using these for quite a while now, and with it being summertime, you know it's time to get more active. I'm going to be outside even more often, touching grass a little bit, playing some basketball out back, and I love to use my Raycons when I'm doing that because they always stay in my ear, which is a big problem I've had with other earbuds. They pack a lot of bass, and they're noise isolating, which means I really don't hear much of what goes on around me. And one of the best parts about them is the cost. They come in at half the price of other premium audio brands on the market. Raycon earbuds also have great battery life with up to 8 8 hours of playtime and 32 hours of battery life total. Plus, it also has seamless Bluetooth pairing. Raycon also offers their wireless earbuds in a range of fun colors and patterns with a variety of fit options and no dangling wires or stems. Raycons are so good that even celebrities like Snoop Dogg, J.R. Smith, and Mike Tyson use them as well. Click the link in the description box below or go to buyraycon.com/rayweather to get 15% off of your Raycon purchase. So now that all of that's out the way, what's going on with the first big NFL 2K arcade game? Is it even still coming out this year? Some people are starting to think no, and I'm starting to lean that way as well because we still have not heard a peep about this game in about a year or so. And seeing as 2K has just officially, as of a day or two ago, started marketing NBA 2K24, I don't really see this game now coming out this year unless it's going to be a holiday release, which is possible. But the fact that they're already on to NBA 2K24, they've released the covers, they've released some early info, and they haven't spoken about an NFL game yet. Meanwhile, the NFL season starts before the NBA season, and NFL games have historically always come out before the NBA games. The fact that they are jumping into the NBA news and they have not said a peep about their NFL game leads me to believe this game isn't coming out. Because if this game was coming out, we probably would have heard something about it over the last few weeks or the last month. As Madden info was started to come out, that would have been about the time that they would have started promoting this game as well if it was actually set to drop at the start of the NFL season. The fact that that didn't happen and they're talking about the NBA game just leads me to believe we're not getting this game this year. Now, they could do a holiday release, which is something they wanted to do a couple of years ago with this game, but the NFL was against it, and that's part of the reason they pushed it back. But at this point, we know that that's not the only reason they pushed it back, because this is about almost 2 years ago at this point. So if the only reason they pushed it back was because they wanted to wait till the start of the next football season, that has already come and gone, and now we're 2 football seasons later as this new season's about to start in about a month. So clearly the game just simply hasn't been ready, or it would have been out by now. So I don't think they're going to do a holiday release this year if 2 years ago the NFL was against it. However, maybe some things could have changed within that time. I don't really think they would want to release it right alongside Madden either, because it just kind of seems like a little bit of a conflict of interest for the NFL and their partnership with EA. It also just seems like not the right thing to do if you want to get as much attention on this game as possible. You'd want to release it a little bit earlier, or maybe a few weeks later once that newness of Madden wears off. I'm not really sure what the thought process on the release is, but they have been on record saying that they don't mind pushing the release of this game back until 2024 when the last update around this game surfaced. So they already said that that was a possibility, and it may just be what's going to happen. But something else interesting was kind of brought to my attention recently. There was an article on the PC Gamer site that's actually a couple years old at this point, but they went over kind of what 2K was doing in terms of their fiscal years for 2022, 2023, and 2024, as they had announced kind of the rollout of the games that they wanted to release over the next few years. Now, they didn't give an entire list of exact games in particular. They did talk about some specific games, but they also talked about just the types of games they wanted to release, like sports games, for example. And on this website, they mentioned that for the year of 2023/2024, there were 4 mid-core sports games that they were going to be releasing. Now, this does not include games like NBA 2K24 or WWE 2K24 or PGA Tour 2K 2024, because those are considered more of a main game. These are not kind of like these mid-tier sports games that they're working on. The mid-tier games are things like NBA Playgrounds, WWE Battlegrounds, and now whatever NFL game they're going to be releasing. And on the website, they had a name that said 2K NFL Bobblehead Blitz. Now this, I don't know if this is an exact working title for the game that PC Gamer got from 2K, or if it's just kind of something they put in there as a placeholder as to what the game could potentially be called or the type of game that it could be. But we do know that 2K was intending to do a new Battlegrounds game for WWE and a new Playgrounds game for NBA. So it would seem that when you look at those 2 games, that's likely what they would be trying to do with the NFL game, because it just kind of falls in line with the other arcade sports games that they're already putting out. Why not have an NFL version of that? And as soon as they announced this deal years ago, that is exactly what I said I thought the game would be. I thought it would be something of a playground type of game because they already have 2 games in that same style. Why wouldn't they also want to do that for NFL just to kind of complete that trifecta? Now, whether or not that's the actual game that's coming, we don't know, but it just seems like the most likely case. But the interesting thing, as we talked about earlier in this video, is the wild card football game that's coming out later this year, which looks like a playground style game. And in fact, it is a playground style game because it's made by Saber Interactive, who kind of started that series. So that's something that is extremely interesting, because if 2K was going to put out a game similar to this, well, Saber Interactive's already beating them to the punch here. Even though it doesn't have NFL teams and logos and stuff like that, it still has players, and it's still going to be a similar concept. So it almost makes you wonder, is this a game that was intended for 2K to put their name on and then they didn't do it? Or is this a game that 2K is going to have to pivot from now, and that's why the game has been delayed? Or are they just working on something else completely? We don't know, because they just haven't simply said much about it. But what it's now leading me to think is that maybe we're going to get something completely different from that. I think there's a very big possibility that what we get is a mobile game, which I know a lot of people absolutely don't want to hear, but I do think that's a big possibility, and we know that they are working on a number of mobile games, including mobile sports games. So there's definitely a good chance that that's where we could see them do their first arcade game. However, whatever they're bringing to console, based on rumors I've heard, it's not going to be as close to simulation as maybe some people had thought. And really, nobody should have thought that, because we know that they're making an arcade game, and an arcade game is never going to be a simulation game. However, when they did say that they were going to try to blur that line as much as possible, I think some people thought that that meant something as simple as making the game 10 on 10 as opposed to 11 on 11, or maybe just making the field 10 yards shorter, or just changing up a few of the rule sets, and then boom, it's no longer technically simulation. But in the gaming world, that's just not really how it goes, especially not in the sports gaming world. Case in point, when you look at Madden, there's certain things in Madden that you could argue aren't simulation, like the way that abilities and X factors work, or other animations that they put in the game. But the truth is, the simulation definition in terms of a sports game is something that you can play around with. There's not this strict rule set of what is simulation and what isn't. You can argue that if you have a forward pass in a game, that it's simulating football. And that's kind of the rumor that I've started to hear more around from people in the industry, is that this game is not going to be anything even close to what you could consider simulation, because with EA having that exclusive deal in place, the NFL has to be really careful about what they allow to happen in this game, because if anything comes too close to breaching what they have in place with EA, that's going to cause a lot of legal troubles. I do think the game will have a lot of depth and immersion for an arcade game. Like I said, a super mega baseball level game I think would be very well welcomed. But if you think that it's going to be anything close to NFL 2K5 or All Pro Football 2K8, it's not. And pretty much everything that I've heard from people that I trust say that you're going to probably be really surprised at just how arcade it's going to actually be. It's probably going to be way more arcade than what you initially thought. But again, until 2K themselves puts out info, we really don't know for sure. Rumors are just that. They're rumors, and they could be false. Now, if you want to know more about that wild card football game that I talked about, which does look very interesting in my opinion, make sure to check out this video right here on the screen.